Based on canon alone, the Kyber crystal was a living, force-attuned crystal that could be found on various planets. During their training, Padawans were sent to the crystal caves of the planet Ilum to seek a crystal for their lightsabers. Kyber crystals were used by both the Sith and the Jedi, and they could also be used to power superweapons created by the Sith. Though cold to the touch, when a Kyber crystal was placed in a lightsaber's hilt, it would change color to match the nature of the wielder with whom it bonded. In ancient times, it was called Kaiburr. The Kaiburr crystal was an ancient Force relic first discovered on Serkapus V. Apart from being used as a lightsaber crystal within its natural location, the Temple of Pomojima on the planet Mimban, it was known to increase the power of Force-sensitive individuals by 1,000 times. It improved their connection to the Force, energized those who were tired during combat, allowed those who could not easily project Force lightning to do so, and amplified their ability to heal using the Force. At the Temple of Pomojima, the crystal was initially used by priests to heal the sick. The area was later abandoned, and the crystal became a legend among the Mimbanites until 2 ABY. Around this time, an elderly woman named Hala purchased a shard of the crystal from a Mimbanite and was given a map leading to the temple. Recognizing that she would need help on her journey, she reached out to Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa. Together they found the crystal, but within the temple, they faced Darth Vader, who had arrived before them. Luke eventually defeated him and, using the crystal's amplified force power, healed both himself and Organa, who had been injured during the fight. Although Vader left with the shard Hala had purchased, the crystal that Hala, Luke, and Organa found at the temple became powerless once they left the temple and traveled off-planet. Off-planet, Luke used the crystal not only as a lightsaber-focusing crystal, but also as a teaching tool in his Jedi Academy. This lightsaber crystal allowed lightsabers to release electrical discharges. It could only be used by the original and rightful wielders of the lightsabers in which it was installed. The Carmine crystal was named Bane's Heart because it was given to Darth Zana by her master Darth Bane, around the time of the 7th Battle of Ruusan, and she used it in her double-bladed lightsaber. Years later, General Grievous, Supreme Commander of the Separatist droid armies, seized the crystal after killing a Dark Jedi. He stored it in his personal starfighter, and during the NK project, it was recovered. The project was overseen by Dr. Nikolai Kineworthy, whom the Galactic Empire, under the guidance of Darkside Prophetess Marili, hired to improve their combat droid technologies. The Doctor was later joined by the eccentric scientist Troon Lorne. Using the remains and personal effects of the late General Grievous, they created a test subject called the NK Necrosis droid, which wielded the Bane's Heart lightsaber during the Galactic Civil War. The droid was eventually destroyed by spacers, who looted the crystal from its mechanical body. Well, the General has been making additions to his collection for several years now, and if you're anything like me, you've probably imagined what it could be like to own a saber yourself. So that's why I started my own store called Stickman Sabers, with a singular goal in mind. Make sabers that look amazing, being inspired by iconic designs, but specifically built to actually duel with. No worrying about babying them, just pick them up and go ham. They're equipped with state-of-the-art pixel technology, giving off an incredibly bright light that will light up the darkest rooms out there. And obviously have that iconic hum, just feels right the moment you switch it on. And for a limited time, if you pick a collector's saber up, you'll also get 2 combat sabers for free. So, if you ever thought about starting your own collection, this is a pretty good place to start. Links in the description, and now, let's get back to the video. The Krayt Dragon Pearl could be used in lightsabers due to its refractive nature. It was found in both common and greater Krayt dragons, however, pearls from greater Krayt dragons were larger and far more valuable. This pearl functioned as a food crusher within the end section of the beast gizzard. Its oval or round shape was the result of constant movement while performing its task, crushing all kinds of food, including men, animals, and lesser beasts. Krayt dragon pearls were found in a variety of colors, including black, white, red, green, and blue. Before installation in a lightsaber's crystal chamber, they had to be thoroughly cleaned and prepared, a process that was far from easy. Krayt dragon pearls could be traded and sold for enormous sums of credits. Among the nomadic and primitive Tusken raiders, possession of such a pearl was also regarded as proof of bravery and victory over the vicious beast. Violet in color and named in honor of the great master Mace Windu, Windu's Guile was a variant crystal derived from the Hurricane crystal. The crystal was given to Mace Windu when he was still a Padawan as a reward from a grateful people after he healed one of their own on the planet Hurricane. These crystals were often found in large sizes, sometimes even as large as a person's fist. However, the crystal was not used exclusively by Force-sensitive individuals of the Republic, as it also saw use within the Galactic Empire. This saber had a somewhat cheeky effect. It produced bubbles. Yes, bubbles. Players of Clone Wars Adventures could simply obtain this crystal by visiting jointhejedi.com. The crystal could also be found in the Ultimate FX Gungan lightsaber, a weapon constructed from the shards and remnants of broken Gungan energy shields. Unusual and strange as they were, Blackwing crystals originated from a virus known as the Blackwing virus. This Sith bioweapon could transform any living being into a flesh-eating undead creature. In a cave beneath the Imperial Research and Prison Facility, formerly a quarantine zone during the Galactic Civil War and the outbreak of the Blackwing virus on Dathomir, some spacers fought and defeated a giant undead rancor in 1 ABY. It was within this facility that the virus had escaped containment, and a large collection of Blackwing crystals was discovered by the spacers. These crystals caused lightsabers to emit a dark, smoky ash-like blade. Found on the world of Ambria, the Luxom crystal was forged within Lake Nath, a body of water steeped in the dark side energy of lingering Sith spirits. The planet itself was saturated with dark energies. However, through deep meditation, a Jedi could draw Force-infused minerals from the lake and bring the Luxom crystal to life. When used in the construction of a lightsaber, the crystal imparted powerful ion pulses, making the blade highly effective against droids. After suffering defeat at the hands of the Sith Dark Lord Darth Vader, the Jedi Jax Pavin earnestly sought the rare Luxom crystal mineral. Their yellow color was a clear sign of the kind of damage they could inflict on an opponent. These impact crystals were used by the clone of Galen Merrick and appeared in the collector's edition of the video game Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2. They were compressed energy crystals storing vast amounts of power within their small and stable structure. However, because of this, when used in lightsabers they caused the blades to pulsate, and their energy output was more precise than that of an ordinary lightsaber. Born from impurities, the Fond crystal emitted a fierce, burning lightsaber beam. The crystal was a byproduct of rare impurities bonding during the process of making a certain alloy, caused by unknown external conditions. The Tainted Night Sister crystal was a version of the Kyber crystal heavily soaked in Dathomir's magical ichor, a green mist found in the depths of the planet. The Night Sisters would summon the ichor through their magics to create physical objects or weapons. The ichor perverted the Kyber crystal's connection to the Force and emitted a choking green smoke when used. Lightsabers, by their very nature, are heat-emitting weapons, but this particular crystal gave them a frostbite effect. Named in honor of the legendary Jedi Master Bodo Baas, the Baas's Wisdom Crystal was not a very popular crystal and was rarely used to construct lightsabers. It also gave the sabers a striking navy blue color. This crystal appeared in the Star Wars video games Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, The Old Republic, and The Old Republic Galactic Strongholds. It was used at different times to construct lightsabers, and when employed, it generated a volatile and powerful blade. The crystal was mined in the mountains of the world of Mahali, an agri-world which the Empire also discovered was rich in dragite crystals. Rainbow gems weren't exactly rainbow-colored crystals. They were actually silicon-based life forms that inhabited the interior regions of the planet Galanor. These crystals were extremely valuable, capable of buying an entire star system and worth as much as a Calamarian cruiser. The Princess of Hapes, Tenel Kajo, had her tiara fused with rainbow gems, and she also used some for her second lightsaber. This crystal was named after the rogue Jedi Knight of the Old Republic, Alia, who was expelled from the Jedi Order and became an exile on Dathomir, where she encountered other outcasts. Teaching the colony's women how to master the Force, she established what would later be recognized as the Witches of Dathomir. The scarlet color exhibited by Alia's exile crystal served as a representation of its destructive power. It possessed a distinct burning effect that inflicted excruciating pain on enemies during combat, generating an intense amount of heat. The crystal also bore a strong resemblance to the Sigil crystal, though it was significantly more powerful. The Jinruax crystal made lightsaber blades swifter and highly effective at deflecting blaster fire. It was a refined form of Opula, but first had to be cleansed of impurities. Lightsabers constructed with the Jinruax crystal appeared in the video games Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, and Star Wars Galaxies. This crystal was used by the Wookiee clans of Kashyyyk as decorative jewelry, but in the hands of a Jedi Master, it became a weapon both versatile and devastating. The Yupari crystal was most commonly found in orbit around forest worlds, scattered throughout space, and because the Wookiees cut the crystal for use as jewelry, the process only made it more powerful. Due to their inability to cut and their tendency to only stun, Bondar crystals were used during the Old Republic era as training lightsabers. This crystal could only be found in the far reaches beyond the Alderaan system, which was the sole known source of the crystal. The Nishalorite stone was first discovered by a wandering Jedi Seeker. It was found on worlds known to possess strong magnetic fields. When placed within a lightsaber, the crystal enabled the weapon to detect and react to nearby magnetic fields, functioning much like a compass. These crystals were most commonly found in the Adagan system. They can also be found on the planets Halm and Megiddo, as well as throughout several regions of the Kalaran asteroid belt. Adagan crystals possessed a unique bond with the Force, allowing Jedi to form a deeper connection with the Force, themselves, and their lightsabers. As a result, they were Force-reactive stones that produced relatively weak Force signatures. Adagan crystals existed in several distinct variants, the first of which was Cathracite. This Adagan crystal variant, like the others, was commonly used as the focusing crystal in the lightsabers of Jedi Knights. Other variants, such as Relicite and Danite, were also used. The Danite crystal particularly was a rare member of the Adagan crystal family and of course was rarer than Relicite, but more common than Mephite. Both Relicite and Danite had minimal damaging effects that focused energy less efficiently than their related crystals. As a result, they were typically used in training lightsabers. Mephite was another Adagan variant, as well as Pontite, which was the rarest and most powerful form of Adagan crystal. Pontite cooled both skin and temperament and resonated with a powerful aura. The Pontite crystal was discovered by Jedi survey teams years before the rise of the Galactic Empire, along with the crystal Mephite. It was a rare crystal to find in the caverns of Ossus. Apart from being used to create lightsabers, the Pontite crystal was also utilized by the company Helical Hypercom in the production of communication devices. Mephite and Pontite produced some of the finest lightsaber blades and shared a similar structure to Ilum crystals. Because of this similarity, Adagan crystals were sometimes mistaken for Ilum crystals, though Ilum crystals were more common. However, Ilum crystals were not as strongly connected to the Force as Adagan crystals, which could emit intense bursts of light when stimulated by resonant frequencies. Notably, an Adagan crystal was used by the renowned Jedi Obi-Wan Kenobi in his first lightsaber. Following the execution of Order 66, the Galactic Empire banned the possession of all crystals capable of being used in lightsabers, including Adagan crystals. The Firth system was a region in the Inner Rim that contained numerous asteroid fields. Within these fields, the crystal Opila could be mined. This crystal enabled lightsaber wielders to cut through nearly any material. Of all known lightsaber crystals, Lambent was unique in that it was a fruit. The crystal was usually harvested by cutting it from a milky sac hidden beneath the leaves of a Yuuzhan Vong plant. The Yuuzhan Vong were a nomadic extragalactic sentient species that nearly destroyed the entire New Republic. They descended from an ancient species on the planet Yuuzhan and were responsible for the deaths of trillions of sentient beings. Religious zealots, they believed mechanical technology to be blasphemous, though their own innovations were genetically engineered and entirely organic. Before the Yuuzhan Vong War, their scouts seeded Shramar, a planet controlled by the Imperial Remnant with Lambent and myrrh. Myrrh was a yeast-based food essential to the Yuuzhan Vong species. During the invasion, a female Yuuzhan Vong named Nina Galfridian, who had married a human and was considered a reject, disclosed to New Republic Admiral Bilsma that the destruction of the Lambents would deprive the Yuuzhan Vong of critical components for their biotechnology. Lambent crystals were also used as communication devices, brightening in response to the thoughts of their wielder. They could serve as sensors for hidden enemies. At one point, Anakin Solo, the third child of Han Solo and Leia Organa Solo, used a Lambent crystal he had found to construct a lightsaber while in Yuuzhan Vong captivity. Having developed an attachment to the crystal, he could to some degree sense when a Yuuzhan Vong was approaching. As its name suggested, the Focus Crystal granted Jedi the ability to concentrate more deeply on the Force, especially when exerting Force energy. On Dagobah in 1BBY, the clone of Galen Marek discovered a Focus Crystal. Another crystal similar in function that helped a Jedi become more in tune with the Force was the Kasha Crystal. Used also for making jewelry, the Roll Stone was an expensive, sparkling red gem. This crystal had a unique and bright aura. It appeared in the action video game Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures. At the Republic outpost on Felucia, the vendor droid 6UN5 sold the crystal along with the lightsaber during the Clone Wars. The Heart of the Guardian was an ancient crystal that the Jedi Order believed, according to prophecy, would appear during times of greatest turmoil to save the galaxy. This, however, stood in opposition to Sith beliefs, as they viewed the crystal as part of their own legacy and believed it would grant them dominion over the galaxy. The crystal was also thought to have played a role in the founding of the Guardian Order of the Jedi. Before the Jedi Civil War on Yavin 4, the Rodian inventor Suvam Tan rediscovered the crystal. It could be placed in a lightsaber alongside another crystal, enhancing the properties of the second crystal and creating a blade that was fast and devastating. The Heart of the Guardian was used by the legendary and redeemed Revan. It was given to him by Tan, who also provided another powerful crystal, the Mantle of the Force. Toward the end of his quest to find and destroy the Starforge, a massive automated shipyard designed by the Rakatan Infinite Empire thousands of years earlier to build a powerful army. From the planet Deminia, the Demond crystal was primarily used by the Sith to construct their lightsabers. The crystal had a mineral form called Demendium, from which its name was derived. When positioned in a lightsaber crystal chamber, it produced a wider and longer blade that could deflect blaster fire more easily and rapidly. This crystal was known for its unique beauty, ranging from deep blue to violet. It was found on the planet Hurricane, home to a sentient species of gray rock and crystal. In 58 BBY, while on a mission as a Padawan to negotiate with the species and obtain special lightsaber crystals, a young Mace Windu used Force Heal to restore one of their own who had fallen into a canyon while the species were pursuing him. Windu defended himself with Force Repulse during the encounter. In gratitude for his compassionate act, the species rewarded him with a handful of crystals, which he used to construct his distinct purple glowing lightsaber. The Velmarite crystal was found exclusively on the planet Velmor. It was yellow in color and was used to produce high-energy lightsabers, known for their fluid movements and fine, narrow blades. Found on Mahali, an agri-world in the expansion region, the Dragite crystals were a well-known and highly valued power source. They were used to focus lightsabers and could inflict a small amount of damage on opponents. The Mantle of Force was the second crystal discovered by the Rodian merchant Suvam Tan and purchased by Revan. It caused lightsabers to emit a cyan color, and like the Heart of the Guardian crystal, could be placed in a lightsaber that already contained another crystal. Its properties also altered the nature of the other crystals, increasing its power and enhancing the force abilities of the wielder. This particular crystal was actually the waste of an extinct creature, the Volus worm. After the creature became extinct, Sapith could only be harvested from its fossilized remains. The creature originated from the homeworld of the Siru, a Sinuarian species, and secreted the crystal once every 11 standard years. The crystals had a complex internal structure and were shaped like serpent scales. Lightsabers made from this crystal were easier to handle and had a devastating appearance. The orange hue of this crystal spelled danger. It was a compressed energy crystal used by Galen Merrick's clone, Starkiller. The crystal infused lightsabers with the ability to cause opponents to burst into flames, or, as its name connotes, to be incinerated with a single touch or strike. Used by the legendary Galen Merrick in the video game Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, the Life Drain crystal requires little explanation, as its name clearly indicates its function. Wielders of this crystal could not only deal heavy damage to their opponents, but also drain their life force. Not widely popular, but nonetheless powerful, Prowess of Plo Koon was named after the Jedi Master Plo Koon, not because he used force healing on a dying being, but simply because the crystal was first introduced in the 2003 video game Star Wars Galaxies. The crystal was, however, found in the galaxy during the Galactic Civil War. In its mineral form, Aralam was known as Araladium. It was mined on the third moon of Arai, and due to orbital bombardments by ancient Sith forces against the moon, Aralam crystals became extremely rare. They were known to produce a superior lightsaber blade. The Seeker crystal was a variant of the Kyber crystal. When turned to a wielder, the crystal enabled them to easily detect nearby danger or other beings, and it emitted a pink blade. The Seeker crystal was surrounded by many stories and dark rumors, making its origins mysterious. One account stated that its purpose extended far beyond simply powering lightsabers. Some claimed the crystal came from beyond the edges of the known galaxy, while other accounts suggested it was traded on exclusive black markets. Marilite was a gemstone used around the time of the Cold War between the Galactic Republic and the Sith Empire to create crystals for lightsabers and blasters. It could also be used in the construction of other weapon components and typically served as an energy source. The Jedi Knight Jax Paven once requested to exchange the Marilite in his lightsaber for the crystal in a light sculpture belonging to Vlakan Umber, a male Vendalian Baron. However, his request was denied as removing the crystal from the sculpture at any point would cause it to explode. Before the start of the Clone Wars, the Zophis crystal was a Kyber crystal that Padawans were sent to find on the outer rim planet Zoph in order to construct their own lightsabers. The blade it produced had destructive capabilities due to its resonating properties. During the Clone Wars, Zoph fell under Separatist control, and traveling to the planet to obtain Zophis crystals became a dangerous venture for Jedi. However, the crystal began to decline in use and eventually became rare with the widespread adoption of Kyber crystals from the planet Ilum. The Ghostfire Stone was found on different planets, but always within a specific type of rock formation. These formations were tall and dangerous, with transparent stones located at their peaks. Lightsabers crafted from these stones were colorless, emitted a very dim light, and did not thrum like other lightsabers, making them almost completely silent. They also left an afterimage of the wielder and the blade when used in combat. This crystal could also serve as a cloaking device. It was found on the planet 8 and 2, and was known for its ability to cloak various vehicles. The Scimitar, Starkiller's ship, and Darth Maul's ship all employed Stygium crystals. Apart from 8 and 2, the island known as Maramir also possessed a plethora of Stygium crystals, causing the entire island to be invisible to scanners. When these crystals were installed in lightsaber hilts, their cloaking attributes enhanced the stealth abilities of a Jedi. The word Noctra means deadly, and the crystal was found on Kashyyyk, the homeworld of the Wookiees. It was discovered among the Myrddraal tribe in the Myrddraal Caverns. The tribe maintained crystal gardens and used the crystals in their rifles and other weapons. The Noctra crystal was very expensive and was sometimes found in the belly of a slain Urnsaurus, which were non-sentient parasitic spiders. Named after the Jedi Master Adagan, this crystal was very powerful but not very popular. The Rhyolite crystal had only one variant, Swollen Rhyolite, but it was primarily used to sharpen the edge of a Sith sword. The Lordian gemstone emerged during the Khans Disorders, a 300-year-long conflict that led to the enslavement of the Lordians by Miriel, the governor of Argazda. Forced to refrain from communicating with one another, they developed kinetic communication. This ability enabled them not only to communicate silently, but also to predict the actions of others through subtle and careful observation of body language. Force-sensitive individuals among them channeled this skill into gemstones, and when these gemstones were used in lightsabers, they enhanced the wielder's blaster deflection, defenses, and combat reactions. Uncommon and powerful, the quintessence of the Force crystal emerged during the Galactic Civil War. Mined on the planet Rafa 5, the Furkran crystal was known for its electrical charge. It was a heavy lightsaber crystal that inflicted significant damage on battle droids. However, it was used solely by Dark Lords of the Sith. When used in lightsabers, this crystal caused targets to catch fire. It was also referred to as Barab ore ingots and was found on the planet Barab 1, embedded within the ore that covered the planet's radiation-baked surface. The Barab ingot crystal emitted burning beams whose cohesion could be nearly destabilized. Used as a healing aid, Jedi healers employed the Thonton crystal to ease the pain of their patients. The crystal was a type of Kyber crystal that was rarely used to construct lightsabers. However, during the Clone Wars, this changed. The crystal found its way to the front lines as a replacement for damaged Ilum crystals. It also helped reduce any pain experienced by wielders during combat. The Viridian crystal was a rare crystal that produced a silvery green lightsaber beam when installed in a lightsaber's hilt. The Rubat crystal could be found on the planet Femus, and when installed into a lightsaber chamber, it made blades appear sharper and more defined. It also helped users track and strike opponents more quickly. Named after the Sith Lord Darth Maul, Maul's Vengeance was a destructive but not so popular lightsaber crystal. Found on the planet Hoth, the Permafrost crystal emitted beams that appeared frosty, with an icy blue color. There was not much information about the origin of the Katak crystal, other than that it was found in the lightsabers of dark side Force sensitives. Its origins were likely kept hidden among members of the dark side. This crystal allowed its wielder to drain a portion of the life force from their target. Valued for their beauty and used in industrial applications, the Korossa gem was an extremely rare crystal. Beyond its use in lightsaber construction, some even made a living from it. Yes, there were people known as Coruscant gem fishermen. The gem, also referred to as the Coruscant Jewel, was produced within the atmospheres of several gas giants, such as Yavin Prime. Though a combination of extreme pressures and the scraping of the planet's liquefied air against its metallic core, the Coruscant gem formed. It even had a casino named after it, the Coruscant Gem Casino. This gem was known to be one of the hardest objects in the galaxy. However, it did have a weak point, or shatter point. This crystal could not be used by anyone else after being attuned to a Force-sensitive lightsaber. It belonged to Jedi Master Ood Banar, who, upon being slain during the time of the Old Republic, dropped his lightsaber crystal as a legacy for those who would come after him. From the world of Miralis II in the Outer Rim territories, the Varpaline crystal was a type of Kyber crystal used primarily for industrial purposes, particularly cutting, due to its extreme hardness. The crystal produced blades capable of slicing through the thickest and toughest materials, surpassing other types of blades. Found on the mid-rim planet of Itai, the Itan crystal was formed in the depths of caverns within the planet's crust. It was an unusual crystal, difficult to find, and even more so after the planet's destruction. Searchers, however, were aided in their quest by its humming resonance. When installed in lightsabers, the crystal absorbed energy from blaster bolts, growing brighter and stronger with each hit. It also absorbed energy from other lightsabers during clashes. The Horn's future crystal was also very powerful, but was in the not-so-popular league as well. It shared its name with a Corellian security force officer and starfighter, Corran Horn, who became a Jedi in the New Jedi Order. The blade formed by this crystal was nicknamed the Bloodshine Blade. The synthetic lightsaber crystal was also referred to as a synth crystal. It was not formed through geological processes, but was artificially created. The process used in its construction gave it a red color. However, other colors could be achieved through force manipulation. The synthetic lightsaber crystal was used primarily by the Sith and other dark side adherents. It allowed them to remain hidden, as natural crystal gathering sites were often monitored by the Jedi Order. Initially considered unsuitable for lightsabers, the crystals were later modified by the Sith through the use of the dark side force energy, which energized, magnetized, and altered them. This artificial method of creation resulted in more powerful lightsaber blades, making synth crystal the most commonly used crystals among dark side force wielders. This aquamarine lightsaber crystal was among those that, once attuned to a wielder, would not function for any other. It was given to Captain Sargilo, a force-sensitive male Zabrak who was responsible for protecting and defending the village of Aurilla on Dathomir during the Galactic Civil War. Found on the planet Jedha, the Jedha crystal was another class of Kyber crystal. It was highly valued and treasured by both the Jedi and the Church of the Force. The Church of the Force regarded the crystals as sacred artifacts from Jedha. They were a religious group that followed the teachings of the Jedi Order and worshipped the Force, though they were not Force-sensitive. The Jedha crystal produced powerful, focused blades. However, after the destruction of the planet Jedha, the crystals were often found in damaged or cracked states. Cracked Jedha crystals were known to produce unstable and ragged blades. This lightsaber crystal was used by a group of Sith individuals known as the Bravest Sith. The Bravest Sith crystal gave lightsaber blades a sparkling effect. Also named after the rogue Jedi Alia, the Alia's Redemption crystal was a poison-injecting lightsaber crystal. It had an acidic effect, and its venomous nature was well depicted by the mix of colors it emitted, an elusive light green blade with a yellow core. Named after Jedi Master Kit Fisto, who lived during the final days of the Galactic Republic, this lightsaber crystal was powerful but not commonly used. When attuned to a Force-sensitive individual, the Bandara's Folly crystal would function for no one else. It emitted a light brown blade and was named after Anun Bandara, a Twi'lek Jedi Master and one of the Jedi Order's finest fighters and lightsaber duel instructors. As its name suggests, this was a two-fold Kyber crystal. The two crystals were connected to one another through the Force. A notable Jedi who owned a lightsaber containing these crystals was Jedi Wayseeker Gela Natai. When Axel Greylark, the controversial son of Galactic Republic Supreme Chancellor Kyong Greylark, stole one of the lightsabers belonging to Gela, Gela, through the connection the crystals had to each other, sensed the stolen lightsaber via its crystal and found Axel. Crafted from lignin ore, which was strongly aligned with the dark side of the Force, the lignin crystal caused lightsabers to burn hotter than normal. It also bestowed enhanced power upon dark side wielders. This crystal was known to possess healing powers and various other effects. Also called the Antares crystal, it was recognized as one of the most powerful crystals used in lightsaber construction. According to legend, the crystal could only be used by those on the light side of the Force. If a Force sensitive on the dark side touched it or wielded a lightsaber powered by the crystal, it would slowly heat up, turning their hand into barbecue. The origin of this crystal was unknown, but it was commonly found in the lightsabers of Force-sensitive individuals on the dark side. It often left a corrupting aura on those it wounded. Named after the Sith Lord Exar Kun, who lived during the Great Sith War, the Kun's Blood crystal was very powerful, though not particularly popular among lightsaber crystals. Found on the planet Socoria, the Solari crystal was among the oldest crystals in the Jedi Order. Though it had existed for a long time, it remained one of the most powerful crystals. However, the light orange gem could only be used by a Jedi who was pure in spirit and a dedicated follower of the light side of the Force. Wielders of this crystal had to remain pure of heart, or their lightsabers would not function. The crystal was visible only in the evening and was highly effective at deflecting blaster bolts due to the width of the lightsaber beam it produced. The Solari crystal also had other variations, including the Heart of the Guardian, the Kaiburr crystal, and the Mantle of the Force. This crystal was commonly used by the Syrians, a sophisticated and cultured humanoid mammalian species. The species traditionally employed the crystal as a meditation tool to clear the mind of distractions. It was created by Bidar Tiunda and inscribed with patterns that helped harness its full energy potential. When used in lightsabers, it helped wielders keep their minds clear of distractions, even in the heat of battle. From the mid-rim planet of Ruusan, the Ruusan crystal was used as currency in the core worlds. It was also a beautiful crystal to behold. Although it did not improve or enhance the efficiency of a lightsaber, it helped Jedi focus the Force. After the Ruusan Reformation, Ruusan crystals on the planet became lost. This crystal formed a unique bond with Jedi Mitra Surik. Naturally formed, it acquired its character from Surik herself, was attuned solely for her, and augmented her powers. Mitra Surik discovered the glowing green crystal in a Force-sensitive crystal cave on the Outer Rim world of Dantooine, after her exile from the Jedi Order during the Jedi Civil War. This crystal takes its name from the Jedi-turned-Sith Lord turned back to the light side, Ulrich Keldroma. Guess he had a hard time making up his mind on which side to follow. The Ulrich's Redemption crystal was not so popular as well, but powerful. Another crystal associated with the Jedi-turned-Sith Lord turned back to the light side, Ulrich Keldroma, was Ulrich Keldroma's lightsaber crystal. This powerful yellow-green crystal was used in his Jedi lightsaber before he turned to the dark side. The Dragite gem emitted shockwaves when it struck a target. It was also known to produce a loud humming sound in combat. The Dragite gem was small, dull, brittle, and difficult to install in lightsabers. It was a variant of the Kyber crystal and was found in the Dulop mountain range on the expansion region agri-world Mahili. Only found on worlds with strong magnetic fields, the Nisha Lorite stones were lightsaber crystals discovered by a wandering Jedi seeker. The stones intensified when aligned with magnetic north. As a result, the lightsabers they were installed in could detect and react to magnetic fields. Extremely rare, the Kixoni crystal was a powerful and distinct gem that existed years before the Jedi Civil War. It formed from the destruction of a planet whose star went supernova. The heat and energy emitted by the star caused the metals and minerals of the planet to merge into crystals, which were then scattered into the Kixoni Nebula as the planet disintegrated. The Kixoni crystal was known for its dark red color and required wielders to be strongly attuned to the dark side of the Force to function effectively. It enhanced the Force abilities of Force sensitives and increased the blade power of a lightsaber. Little is known about how this crystal was connected to the great Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi, other than that it bore his name. The Kenobi's legacy crystal had to be carefully attuned to its user before it could be inserted into a lightsaber hilt. Once attuned to one user, it could no longer be used by anyone else. Found on the planet Tatooine, the Durand Fire Gem was a valuable crystal that was sometimes bought and sold by the Galactic Empire to help finance the construction of the Death Star. However, few of these crystals ever left their home planet. The Rebel Alliance used the movement of the Durand Fire Gem to track the Empire's various development sites. With this information, they uncovered the origins of the TIE Phantom project, which involved developing a TIE Series starfighter with cloaking technology through Stygium, deflector shields, and a hyperdrive. The Jawas were unaware of the crystal's value, but they commonly found it in desert sands and used it to protect their eyes from bright sunlight. The crystal is also used by Jedi of the Halcyon/Horn family, a notable family of two from the planet Corellia. The Durand Fire Gem was known to impart a unique silver sheen to the lightsaber blade it produced. Radiant and deadly, the Saurian crystal released a powerful surge whenever it struck a target or was struck at high speed, knocking back opponents and giving its wielder enough time to counterattack. With a brownish-yellow hue, the Sigil crystal produced powerful, damage-dealing lightsaber blades. It was a costly crystal with a searing effect. Named after the legendary Count Dooku, also known as Darth Tyrannus, this red crystal, when placed in a lightsaber and attuned to a Force-sensitive individual, would not function for anyone else. This crystal made lightsabers more precise than standard models. It was the crystal that the Jedi Jax Pavan intended to install in his lightsaber from a light sculpture belonging to Ves Follett, a male Kamasi light sculptor who was later murdered after unveiling a new lightsaber-related invention. When the crystal was removed from a light sculpture, it caused the gaseous light within to collapse, permanently destroying the sculpture. However, when installed in a lightsaber, it gave the blade a unique pulsating effect. Some examples of compressed energy crystals include Ilum, Luxom, Adagan crystals, and Coruscant gems. This lightsaber crystal also appeared in the 2003 video game Star Wars Galaxies. It was not very common, but it was powerful. Found during the Galactic Civil War, the Mundi's Response Crystal was named after the great Jedi Master Ki-Adi-Mundi. It was powerful but uncommon. The Dantari Crystal was also known as the Dantooine Crystal, as it was found on the planet Dantooine, specifically within the eggs of native species. These creatures were large, non-sentient arachnoids. The crystal occurred in both rare and common color variations. When placed in a lightsaber's hilt, it helped wielders regain expended Force energy and reflected their alignment during combat. The Dantari crystals were popular among the Jedi until the discovery of Ilum lightsaber crystals. The Dawn of Dagobah crystal not only inflicted pain on its targets, but also poisoned them. It had an acidic effect and was quite powerful, though it was not often used in lightsabers. Even though the Kaiburr stone was produced by volcanic activity on the moon of Enis, it emitted a non-lethal blade when used in lightsabers and was considered unsuitable. However, some Jedi Knights still chose to see potential in the stones and decided to collect a large number of them on Enis. After the destruction of the Jedi Order, during the era of the Galactic Empire, the crystals were sold on the black market, with few people truly understanding their value. Found on the outer rim crystalline planet of Christophsis, the Christophsis crystal was a Kyber crystal that existed during the Clone Wars. The planet from which this crystal was sourced was important to both the Separatist and Republic forces. To the Jedi Order, the planet's significance lay in its crystalline forest, from which they could collect Kyber crystals. When placed in a lightsaber, the crystal produced powerful impacts due to its uniquely amplified kinetic energy. Spherical, lustrous, and silvery, the Ultima Pearl was used by the Mon Calamari Jedi Master Silgal. It was found on the deep ocean floor of Dak, her homeworld, and required a certain level of expertise to install. Used by Starkiller, the Corrosion Crystal was a compressed energy crystal with a red hue. In combat, if a lightsaber powered by a Corrosion Crystal touched an opponent, they would immediately begin to deteriorate. Known for the zigzag beams they produced in lightsabers, the Dagi Crystal was used solely by the Dagi Jedi, a sect of the Jedi Order during the Galactic Republic, which became extinct by the time of the Clone Wars. This group of Jedi, apart from their uniquely designed lightsabers, also wore distinctive tunics. Their zigzag lightsabers featured a black or silver core surrounded by a colored aura. Naturally formed and found in the deep core of the planet Typhon, the Meditation Crystal was known to induce and aid in meditation. When placed in a lightsaber chamber, the crystal enhanced a wielder's connection to the Force during combat and helped them retain energy while fighting. In the video game Star Wars The Force Unleashed 2, Galen Merrick received 2 of these crystals from Jedi Master Ram Koda. The enhancement jewel was not only used to produce lightsaber blades, but also in high-resolution projection systems. The Wookiee Jedi trainee Lobaka once discovered an enhancement jewel left by Rebel technicians on the moon Yavin 4, and used it in his lightsaber. Found only on volcanic planets and moons such as Mustafar, the lava crystal emitted blades that resembled flowing lava. Its extreme heat made the blades less focused, and they were also heavy. In combat, the blades could sometimes splash molten lava and create small bursts of flame. Named after the legendary Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn, the Qui-Gon's Devotion Crystal was powerful, though not particularly popular. Oh, and again, for a limited time, every Stickman Saber purchase comes with 2 additional combat sabers, so you're more than ready for your own duels. If that sounds like something you'd want to look into, the link's in the description.